This movie presents the OVM compliance checking in DVT. In order to perform the OVM compliance checking, just press the OVM compliance review button. It is recommended to rebuild the project before applying the checks. You may choose on which package to apply the checks. We'll do it for the XBus package. The compliance analysis view opens. From here you can inspect the architecture of your environment, browse the check results or various statistics, as well as export the compliance report in HTML format. The Architecture tab presents units and structs grouped by categories. The XBus Agent Monitor unit is recognized as a monitor because it inherits from OVM Monitor. In this example, my temp monitor doesn't inherit from OVM Monitor. You can manually add it to the list of monitors and reapply the checks. Most probably the check which verifies that each monitor inherits from OVM Monitor failed for my temp monitor. The Checks tab presents all the checks applied on your environment. Checks are grouped by categories, for example architecture checks, messaging checks, or documentation checks. If you look at the summary, you can see for each category how many checks are enabled from all available checks, and if the category contains failed checks. In this example, only for messaging all the checks passed. If you look at the architecture category, you can see an overview of all checks, how many times a check was applied and how many times it passed. For example, this check was applied 3 times and it passed, and this one was applied once and it failed. You can look at each check individually and see the check description and where exactly was it applied. This pass check verifies that every active agent instantiates a BFM, and it was applied 3 times for the arbiter, master and slave agents. Double-click and jump to the source code where the BFM was instantiated. This failed check verifies that every agent has a name field. You can double-click, jump to the source code and fix the problem. As source code changed, you should reapply the checks. As you can see, the problem is fixed. If you click on Check Properties, you can enable or disable a check, configure the severity level or restore the default settings. You can also add notes to a check. Notes are saved and you'll see them next time you open the compliance analysis. Some checks are hard or impossible to automate, like for example verify that all drivers are documented. Such a check is manual by default in the unknown state. You can mark it manually as passed or failed. The Statistics tab presents various metrics collected from the source code, like how many sequences did you define or how many checks. You can also see where they are located and double-click to jump to the code. Finally, you can export the OVM compliance checking report in HTML format. The HTML report contains all the checks and statistics, including your notes.